tonight. The KOLD Investigates team has new information on staffing shortages at the Pima County Jail and the financial impact it's having on the department. The deadline for corrections officers to get vaccinated is in 3 weeks, and as of tonight, about half of those officers have received a shot.
Our Shaley sat down with corrections officers and the sheriff who have differing views about what could happen if the jail loses half of its workforce.
We're in a really bad staffing situation inside of the jail.
Tom Frazier is a sergeant in the Corrections Bureau for Pima County.
I've been there for almost 18.5 years.
He's also the president of the Pima Corrections Association, a union that says staffing levels are now a critical concern.
We're already exhibiting just vast amounts of overtime, rolling lockdowns. That's not how we were designed to run. It's not good direct supervision.
Like all Pima County employees working with vulnerable populations, corrections officers must be vaccinated by December 31st. According to the latest numbers from the Pima County Sheriff's Department, out of the 425 uniformed corrections officers, 158 have yet to be vaccinated.
January 1 is a scary date. I want the taxpayers to know that we cannot provide the level of care for these people within our walls, for our staff, if this mandate goes through. We cannot afford to lose 10 more officers, let alone 200. We're not being fiscally responsible to the taxpayers. We're not being morally responsible to the employees and the incarcerated individuals under our charge.
Corrections officer and vice chairman of the Sheriff's Labor Association, Carlos Delgado, says he's been with the county for about 15 years.
The point of this mandate was supposedly to put inmates less at risk. But if the mandate were to take effect today and we lose that many officers, the inmates will be put in a higher danger because we will not have the bodies to give them the proper care that they're entitled to, that they deserve. And the citizens of Pima County need to be fully aware of that.
These officers say the staffing shortages are affecting just how much time inmates can spend outside of their cells.
So now with the staffing shortage, are they getting the same amount of day room time or no?
No, with rolling lockdowns, what we're doing is we have 3 main facilities. What we're having to do on certain days because of staff shortages is leave, say, the tower facility on lockdown. The inmates in that building do not come out to day room at the normal times so that we can run day rooms in the other 2 buildings.
And these officers say they've seen a spike in overtime, and that's before the potential loss of nearly 200 officers due to the vaccine mandate.
We don't have the necessary bodies to reach minimum staffing on a daily basis, which means that officers from the prior shift are being forced to stay for double shifts. That's anywhere between 16 hours and 18 hours if they get forced onto our overnight shift, which is a 10-hour shift. And this is happening 2, 3, and in some cases 4 times a week.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says he's aware of the overtime numbers and the staffing levels.
If I lost 158 bodies anywhere in this agency, would that be a challenge? Absolutely. We don't want to lose anybody. They're very valuable to us. They're part of this family and part of this organization. But the decisions I have to make aren't just based on popularity contest.
Nanos says the vaccine mandate isn't going anywhere.
We lost 3 inmates this last year to COVID. I have to do everything I can to prevent that, and not mandating vaccines isn't doing everything I can.
I requested the overtime numbers for the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and keep in mind, Sheriff Nanos took office in January of this year. This fiscal year, the department budgeted $805,105 in overtime at the jail. In just the first 5 months of this fiscal year, the department has spent $1,159,641 in jail overtime. Despite being over budget when it comes to jail overtime, Sheriff Nanos tells me overall the department is projected to come in under budget by about $500,000. And Nanos says the overtime isn't coming from staffing shortages, but staff calling out sick.
Do you think if half of your COs have to leave because they refuse to be vaccinated, though, that will significantly increase the overtime?
No. I actually think overtime will be reduced because we actually have the bigger workforce over there, the greater workforce, that really just wants to do the job. And they don't call in sick. We learned that before we came here of a plan where they were on the 12-hour shifts, one squad, would tell the other squad, we'll call in sick next week, so you guys get the overtime, and then you call in the following week and we get overtime.
While he says losing roughly half of his corrections officers would be a shame, it's a challenge Nanos says he's confident the department could overcome.
It may help improve morale, not decrease morale. There are a number of people over there who I have heard from and my command teams have heard from that they're tired of the nonsense and the games being played by these two associations.
I spoke with Frazier about the sheriff's allegations as to the root of the overtime problems, and tonight he sent me a statement that reads in part, the sheriff's statements about staff coordinating call-ins is just not true. According to the sheriff's commanders, sick calls in the Bureau have dropped in the last 6 months, yet overtime expenditures have more than tripled. Staffing is obviously an issue since sergeants and lieutenants are being forced to work outside their classification to fill correction officer vacancies. Overtime is being hired for many shifts before sick calls are even received. Nanos says the staffing issues are not limited to the jail. They affect the entire department and they are actively recruiting. Shaley Sanders, KOLD Investigates.